Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to take a look at a new lad for AOS and talk about what I hope it means for that particular setting. Before we get into it proper, I just want to apologise for the lack of video yesterday. I was somewhat distracted because Elgu very kindly sent me the Saturn II, and so I was getting that set up, and it's been a bit of an adventure. It's been interesting. It got stopped at customs, and they had a rummage around in it, and I'm pretty sure some fat-fingered, clumsy oaf dropped the build plate because there's a little bit of damage on it, and it's made calibrating it that little bit more tricky. So that's what yesterday was spent doing. However, I have got it up and running, and there's going to be a review on it later in the week, along with the Neptune 3, which is also an FDM printer that just works for me. That's miraculous. I had an FDM printer before, not an Algu one. I had a different one, and I couldn't get it to do anything. So this is basically miraculous for me, this actually working. Anyway, that's what yesterday was spent doing, so that's why things were a bit quiet. But we've got a lad to talk about. See, I have one gripe, one very specific gripe when it comes to Age of Sigmar. I love Age of Sigmar. I love the setting, I love the freedom when it comes to conversions and kit bashes, how completely accepting of mad stuff that community is. I mean, we've got all the stupid, Realm of Metal Gargants, we've got all the horrors that are down there that I'm taking to Facehammer this year, just in time for them to shift the focus away from monsters and towards infantry, so good job me. And yeah, I really like the setting, and I really like how varied and wild the armies are. With one exception. Your normal humans, your normal, standard, just everyday lads, do not get much of a look in. Now, we've got plenty of mortals following Slaanesh and Tzeentch and Khorne and Nurgle and all of that stuff. Fine. We've got the Stormcast. Massive, just freaks of nature. That's a bit harsh. Let's not judge Sigmar's finest with that moniker, but you know what I mean. There's not much in the way of just your standard humans going around that aren't Chaos affiliated in some way. We just don't get much in the way of Free Guild, we don't get much in the way of Cities of Sigmar. A lot of the human stuff is old stuff from fantasy that is just still available. It's not had any sort of update or any sort of big overhaul, especially in terms of the models. Which is why I got super excited about this. So, a rotten Warcry rogue carves his way out of the Gnarlwood. This is a human. This is a guy. This is the Rotmire Creed Carrion Catcher, and from what I can tell, this is an ordinary fella, admittedly with some interesting clothing choices going on, but still, that looks to me like more of a normal chap than we tend to see in most of AOS. Now, he is incredibly creepy. He is very weird. We've got the bamboo face mask. I think it's bamboo, it's not bone, is it? Yeah, it's more like bamboo face mask. Going to play you a nice panpipe song whilst he drags you away into the into the swamps to be carved up. Then we've got a nice bit of tattered cloth. We've got that kind of... This looks quite Cruel Boys in a way. I mean, Cruel Boys have this kind of aesthetic to them, and I like the fact that it's being spread over to what seems to be a human, because I genuinely think the thing that we need more of is more humans in Age of Sigmar, which might seem a bit weird because it's such a fantastical setting and there's so many different unique races, and we've got mad stuff like steampunk dwarves and deep sea elves, my two go-tos whenever we talk about Age of Sigmar, because it just shows the full range of what the hell is this, that I think really encapsulates what Age of Sigmar is about. But we don't actually have much normal to offset it, or at least we don't have much in the way of easily relatable. This guy is still just a human being from what we can see. He's got an interesting style, yeah, but this looks almost like a destruction human. This doesn't look like a Free Guild job. This doesn't look like a Sigmar lad. This looks like something like someone almost wild and untamed. Someone who's having to carve, maybe not a living, maybe just actual meat out of other creatures in some sort of swampland. Like the stilts that he's got on, attached to the legs there, so that he's slightly raised above ground level. The really gnarly, it's almost half Cruel Boys, half Nurgle stick that he's got there, with that horrible hook on the end. This is a really cool look. This takes multiple different bits from other factions, and then puts them on just a guy. And for me personally, the thing that makes settings more fantastical and more over the top and more just like, more intense is having that kind of basic, relatable point to go along with it. Like, I would be super happy if this is a destruction warband. If this is a faction of humans who have maybe been inspired by or even are having to live somewhat close to Cruel Boys and have adapted and overcome that challenge, who have started armouring themselves with the things they can find in the area they're in, who have kind of taken on practices that your Free Guild, your Cities of Sigmar, would not dare or like dream to do because it would be too barbarous, but they're going to do it because it's necessary for their survival. They're not doing it because they worship chaos, they're not doing it because they want to be, you know, loved by Nurgle. They're doing it because they need to do it, and they have some sort of distaste or scorn for those who live in relative comfort and safety. I would love that as an angle for this. Now, whether that's what they do, that is, well, we'll have to wait and see. We don't really know. There's no more information on this, apart from that this is the Gnarlwood in the realm of beasts, and it's full of carnivorous critter and flesh-eating flora. So, like, there's not much information here. It just calls him the carrion catcher, talks about the roped hook, and the fact that he's got stilts, and a bit of camouflage as well. So, there's not a huge amount of information here. But, you know what? I'm kind of holding on hope. The one thing that makes me think that perhaps we are going to get something a little bit different, a little bit fresh, a really cool take on humans in this setting, is this line here. So the Rottenmeier Creed are currently embroiled in a running battle with the Horns of Hashut, attempting to prevent the fires of industry reaching the woods of Gur and burning down their nice wet swamp. That I really like the sound of, and that is what I'm really hoping is like the main focus of. I really want to see them do something different and unique with these. This feels fresh, this feels different, this once again feels like something that is maybe a bit similar to something that is familiar in terms of AOS, because it is very Cruel Boys-esque, but the approach is very different, and it's applied to a different race, which is what I find really interesting. Because it helps that I actually really like the model. Generally speaking, at the moment, I say at the moment, for quite a while now, Games Workshop has been putting out some pretty good stuff. There's usually things that aren't quite to my taste on basically every model. I know that some of you get really fed up with me like nitpicking at times, but then again, there's no point in me saying I like everything about something if I don't like everything about something. I prefer to be a bit nitpicky, but actually honest about it, you know. But the vast majority of the time, most of the models they make, I like in some capacity. This is no exception. I do like this quite a lot. The one thing that I'm not sure about, although we need to get a 180, 360 view of it, is the foot. His right foot looks a little bit off, but it could just be that it's squished up against that piece of wood, and we can't see it because of the angle. That's probably all that is. But that is literally the only complaint I've got about this. I actually really like the style of it. It's quite sinister, it's quite creepy. It kind of has like almost like fantasy horror feel to it. Like that hook is really brutal. It being on the end of that long like catching pole, the improvised armor in the form of that tree bark with the spikes going through it, and the kind of bamboo armor over the face. I really like this. Like as a model, it's kind of a bit grimdark, which is nice to see. Question is, what do you think, and are you looking forward to seeing more? I know I am, but then I've already said that. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm going to go and continue fighting the Saturn II and see if we can get a fully done test print out of it. I have got a test print out of it, but there's like little issues here and there, so I need to go and iron those out. So we've actually got something to show off for the video for it. So I'm going to go and wrestle with that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things: Patreon, video subscribe, share. That's not a thing you can click. I'll leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.